Welcome, guys, to Chris and Drew Spoil Films. Today we're going to look at Pacific Rim 2. You may be wondering why I'm wearing these sweet shades. It's because we may or may not have shot this one after a day of drinking in the sun. And Andrew is just a little bright. Cheers for checking us out. Andrew.
Yeah, Chris.
Pacific Rim 2. Uprising.
Sure. Colon.
Colon. Do you know what? In all fairness, I don't even know.
There was a colon.
Even though I haven't watched it, if it's Pacific Rim 2 Uprising or Pacific Rim Uprising. Irregardless,
sure.
We are here because we're going to talk about Pacific Rim Uprising. So, before we came on, I made you watch the Pacific Rim 2 sequel, Uprising,
The trailer.
Armageddon.
The trailer, which played remarkably like a recruiting video for the Jaeger program.
Yes.
But only right at the end.
Well, no, I feel that that was two trailers combined. I have a feeling that that trailer, like the bit at the end that felt like a recruitment video, was from before.
Right.
I think that was like the preview trailers they put out
Clever
beforehand.
viral video teaser.
Yes.
And then, they got it all out for it.
But
I saw the original, I did not see the sequel. I was a fan of the original.
sure,
Don't like Charlie Hunman.
Charlie Day.
No, Charlie Day I love. Glad to see
Who's Charlie Hunman?
the main guy.
What?
The
Oh
main guy in
God,
Pacific Rim.
his name is Charlie something, right enough. Yeah.
The guy
Sorry,
with the
first one.
preposterous
Yeah.
accent. I mean, I could done without him, but the movie was good.
Sure.
I lot to recommend the movie, but we're not talking about the movie. But
No,
anyway,
we're not. We're talking about movie 2.
Had no interest.
Talk about movie
Had no interest in the sequel.
Right. So I made you watch the second sequel before we started recording here. The second sequel, the trailer, sequel trailer.
Can we maybe, for the interest of full disclosure, it's like the hottest day of the year, and we've been drinking for about 8 hours.
It's easily 22 degrees all day. You can probably see.
It's 9:05. I arrived here at 3 o'clock. So
you probably see how red his face is right now.
6 hours, and yes, I was subjected to the sun. I mean, I'm about 80% Highland Scots by genetics, so this is not my fault. Anyway,
obviously, providing you're watching the video and not the audio. If you're watching the audio, you can probably hear him sizzle. So that's probably a thing.
usually accessing audio is described as listening, not watching. But Chris does him. Anyway, sorry. Back to
Right. It's a focus.
I've never seen the film. You've seen the film.
I've seen the film.
Tell me about the film.
No. Right. First off, I made you watch the trailer.
Mm.
Going by the trailer,
You wanted me to.
I want you to give me what you think the synopsis of the movie will be based on the trailer that you watched. Because I was able to watch the trailer, and full disclosure, I'm not sure if it was the same trailer that we watched, because I don't know which number of trailer I watched, but I was able to predict the main story arc of the movie based on the trailer.
Okay, I'm going to give you my just initial observations.
Sure.
It looked significantly more Transformers than the original did.
Yup.
In almost every respect.
Yep.
I saw a Jaeger bursting through a building. I saw something that the original managed to do quite well was that the Jaegers were almost always shot from below to give an idea of scale.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, they were almost always shot from above to make them look like dudes in suits. The particular scene as they were all flying towards the sky Gundam style, it just looked like dudes in suits. It looked like the admittedly quite niche game Outlander, I believe it was called, which you wore kind of like Gundam suits and flew around Mesa to Mesa.
I think that rings a bell.
In terms of plot, I'm always a little bit concerned when very few of the original cast return, but like whole units of additional cast return, i.e. Charlie Day and other dude.
Yep. The other scientist guy.
Their presence sort of suggests, they both said they'd do it, so we now have to kind of shoehorn them in, despite the fact that no one else has turned up.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of plot, I don't have much to go on beyond. I did notice 2 Jaegers fighting at one point, and I did notice a kaiju healing itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But no, I must admit I haven't really made any assumptions.
So,
as to
for
plot.
full disclosure,
Also,
I am not-
also love John Boyega, love him,
sure.
but
Detroit was a great movie.
never saw it. You
Mhm.
can do that next. But if you're an actor from the original and won't return, I don't understand why the main character in the sequel has to be somehow connected to them. Why does it have to be Pentecost's
Sure.
son? Why can it not just be some other guy? Like, by all means, cast John Boyega. Just make
Yeah.
him John Boyega.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need oh no, but where's Idris Elba? Oh no, it's fine. Here's his son.
Well-
who for some reason was never fucking mentioned in the first movie.
To be fair,
Why is he so obsessed with what's her name? Lassie from the first movie, who he's
Oh,
like his
the
adopted
Asian
daughter.
girl. Yeah,
he's like his
yeah,
adopted
yeah,
daughter.
yeah.
Why is he so obsessed with her if he's got his own laddie kicking about somewhere?
Yep.
Like, all it makes me think is Idris Elba was like, what was his name? Pentecost.
Pentecost.
Why is
yep.
Pentecost? Why was Pentecost not looking after his own fucking laddie? Why was he rescuing this girl?
So here's, you immediately off the bat, you've hit on a fairly large point. Boyega being cast as young Pentecost is the most irrelevant thing.
Hold on, it's Pentecost's son.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah. No, sorry, not
Pentecost
not-
Junior, not
yeah,
young
Pentecost
Pentecost.
Junior,
Say,
sorry,
this is a fucking
sorry.
like a terrible prequel.
Some sort of future prequel. Yeah, no, him being cast as like Pentecost Junior is just the most fucking irrelevant thing. Like, there's absolutely no point. You could have had him cast as any generic guy. It's literally served as a point for people to be like, "Oh my God, you're a Pentecost son. You're like the greatest person ever. And Pentecost was a hero." That's it. That's literally as much as it's mentioned. all the way through.
Obviously, in the first one, Charlie Hunnam's main character, whose name escapes me,
Oh,
can't imagine it's
I
important.
don't remember his name.
He, as sort of, in place of having him act a characteristic,
Hmm.
has the weight of his fame as an ex-Jaeger pilot hanging over him.
Sure.
And because sequels always need to try and replicate as much in the original, I suppose there's a good way of replicating the famous without wanting to be
Well,
thing.
what it tends to do, and you hit on another very good point of that it is literally the most Transformers thing that I've seen since it not being Transformers. There's so many beats that when watching it, like I've taken from the same stuff that I've taken from watching the last night, like the last Transformers movie. Like there's so many like things that are just like, oh, why? Like, is this Michael Bay? Is it? Because I'm not sure. Because it feels like Michael Bay. So like, you start and you see Pentecost Junior. We'll just call him Pentecost from now on because I'm not saying Junior every time. But he basically has made his living in some like smashed out Miami mansion, and all he does is like steal Jaeger parts to sell to the mafia, the Jaeger mafia, to keep living because he's not a pilot anymore.
So he was a pilot.
I mean, he was. You don't know at the very beginning, but yes, he was a pilot. Briefly, he takes his fucking shit and he's like, "Oh, I'm a pilot." Doesn't give a fuck. Steals a load of stuff for the mafia. You get like a whole 20-minute period. That's why it feels like very Transformers. Like, there's a whole load of nonsense. Like, it's him being taken into like a broken down, like I assume some sort of Jaeger yard by like some guys with guns that are like the mafia that he's working for.
I mean, it's not that important, but Miami isn't on the Pacific.
To be honest, don't even remember if it's Miami.
Okay.
Who knows? I assume it's Miami because that's what I remember.
Right.
But at
Okay.
the same time,
You might
it's
be wrong.
2 weeks ago that I watched this movie.
Like very much the wrong side of the United States. Right?
Yeah. So
Never know.
places aren't going to be an important thing of this thing.
San Diego?
Sure. Will's vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you... Okay. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Places don't matter. Just to clarify, places don't matter.
John Boyega's in a mansion.
John Boyega is in a mansion stealing Jaeger parts from scrap yards to sell to the mafia, who apparently need Jaeger parts It's never explained why, but they want like Jaeger parts, and he's got his little tracker, and he's like, boop, 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 boop,
Because
boop,
this
where's the
exists
Jaeger?
in the same universe as Real Steel.
This might very well be like it's based 10 years after, so they've had 10 years of peace.
So John Boyega would have been
Yep,
like what, 15
yep,
at least.
yep,
So he's like a teenager, cutting
yep.
about.
Just never mentioned. It's just like, I don't care about him. He's not Asian.
I mean, I'd be upset. I'd be upset if I were John Boyega. I'd be upset if I were John Boyega.
So like,
I'd be upset.
he's kind of flown about, and I mean, and they talk about like you get this whole sequence of him like bombing through the inside of a Jaeger, like running away from the mafia people because somebody stole the bit that they were going for before they got there. So you get this whole bit with him running away and get shot at and shit and all this stuff's carrying on. But like, that's the last you ever hear of it.
Yeah.
Like the normal person might suspect that, you know, this may come back around at like the beginning of the third act.
Sure.
You know, like the mafia guys are going to show up again and be like, excuse me, hey, what are you doing? Where's our Jaeger bits? But they don't. It's literally never mentioned again. It's just like, no, that's it. He was working for the mafia people for the first 5 minutes of the movie, but after that, nah, doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Nobody cares anymore. And irregardless of it being 10 years after the first one, I mean, this may be wrong. I can't remember if it was a Jaeger part or a monster part, but the mansion was like half smashed with like an arm through it, like a monster arm or a Jaeger arm through it.
Right.
So it's like, wait, it was 10 years. Like we haven't managed to like clean things up in 10 years. So like he comes out and he's like running away and he finds who it is that's stealing it. Hey, turns out in the most Transformers twist that there's ever been, it's a 15-year-old girl.
Hey, John Boyega was 15. Yeah.
So like this 15-year-old girl
According to us.
who is apparently, so like, you know, fucking chasing her down, whatever. But it's this 15-year-old girl who's apparently been making her own Jaeger.
Jaeger.
Well, I had a brief moment of like, what do you call them things?
Jaeger.
So she's been making her
It
own.
means hunter.
As a 15-year-old girl, has been making her goddamn own. And as you find out later on,
It's definitely Real Steel.
no, it did. It's so close. Like it mixes like Real Steel, like fucking King Kong, like Skull Island shit. It mixes Transformers. It just fucking takes like little bits of it all and throws it in. So she like.
Real Steel was good.
I haven't seen Real Steel.
Real Steel was great.
But she like makes her. She's got like her
Go
own.
watch Real Steel.
Don't watch Real Steel. She's got her own like mini one.
Okay.
And I say mini one, I mean it's not like the rest of them are all like skyscraper tall. Like hers is like up like below their knee. It's like a little ball one made out of scrap.
Sure.
So she's been making her own, and she's just kind of like, I'm a little girl. I made this myself. I'm taking this bit. And then a big Jaeger comes over and it's like, oi, stop your nonsense. You shouldn't be making your own Jaegers. That's bad.
Why are there still Jaegers?
Glad you asked that question. It's never answered.
Okay.
It literally is just kind of like, oh, well, they might come back, so we better just still have Jaegers around.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Which I guess
I don't know
as
that,
a...
I don't know that you put them on like the beat. Like
Well, this guy,
like an old-
this
like a
Jaeger...
Bobby.
Yeah, this Jaeger's apparently just like
kind of a bit,
coast patrol.
kind of bit dealing with
Yeah.
folk building.
Also, fun fact, this Jaeger that comes along and is like, oi, what are you doing? Never see him again. Even like...
well, I
in-
mean, he's just a patrolman.
yeah, in the midst of all the nonsense, this Jaeger's never seen again.
Just the Coast Guard.
But this girl, she does or not, like her robot is like a tiny little one that like turns into a ball, so it gets to roll around loads and like under their feet and like up the walls and stuff. Like that's the thing. 'Cause
he
it's
sounds
small.
like adorable comic relief.
Oh well, some might say that this is what they were aiming for. Like
Jar Jar
just-
bot.
Yeah, I mean it's effectively a Jar Jar bot. It's effectively all what the tiny like below human knee Transformer bots in like the last 4 Transformer movies were for, like the tiny little ones.
I appreciate why you keep bringing this back to Transformers. I've never seen a Transformers movie. Why would
What?
Why would I watch?
You've never seen one, right? No, we're getting sidetracked. We're not going to talk about
Okay,
Transformers
yeah,
anymore.
sure.
We'll keep it.
I'm just saying.
We'll keep it focused.
You're using a frame of
We'll keep
reference
it focused.
that
Well, no.
most people, they're very successful movies.
Most people are going to understand what I'm saying when I say this is a very Transformers movie because
Not
you
good.
pointed on it yourself, like from a lot of the camera angles
Yeah, no,
and stuff.
it looked
are
very Transformers. Do you want a fun Transformers fact?
I want a fun Transformers fan.
The stage production of Phantom of the Opera has made more money than all the Transformers movies combined.
Do you know what? Not even surprised. That's fucking phenomenal, and I love that. I actually love
How
that.
good is that for a fact?
That's a great fact.
Just go back and watch the cartoon. There's nothing wrong with the cartoon.
Cartoon's better. Irregardless, I love the first two Transformers movies. The cartoon's better. Go watch it. No, I'm a sucker for Transformers.
Where's the cartoon?
So, you deal with all this nonsense. Basically, obviously, the tall Jaeger fucking deals with him, and that's nonsense. He's like, "Oi, you're under arrest. Fine, whatever."
I am listening, but I made this far too strong.
So they're in prison.
Okay, like
Yeah, no, both of them are just arrested.
he
They're-
lifted them.
They're,
Right, okay.
they're like in a prison because apparently that's what Jaegers do.
Doesn't he know that it's Pentecost's son?
Apparently it doesn't matter
Well, I mean, in fact,
Until-
it shouldn't.
until he gets a laser beam hologram phone call from Mako from the first one, the daughter,
Yeah,
the
but
adopted
I
daughter.
believe Miko, but I don't.
Mako? I'm not 100%. So he gets a phone call from Mako, who's like an admiral or like a head of the military now.
I liked her.
Yeah, man, I liked her too. Hey, fun fact, she's not in this movie very long.
She's probably better than this movie.
Right?
Ironically, Charlie Hunnam isn't better than this movie. He wasn't in it at all.
She.
Idris Elba. is
That
better.
I mean, that's the thing. Like,
I've never seen it. I've been very judgmental.
Charlie Hunnam could have very easily just filled in as the main character, and it would have been fine. Like,
No.
it would have made absolutely no difference.
Would have been objectively worse.
No, it would have made absolutely no difference.
He's
to the
not.
story.
He's not John Boyega.
To the story, wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, but that's well.
I mean, she's only in it because of her vague ties to the first one. Like, that's literally why she's there. They're like, oh, hey, do you remember this girl from the first one? Boom, she's dead now. What are you going to do about it? Are you sad? I mean, we can't call spoilers.
No,
Like,
I'm not. That's not my concern. My concern is they kill her.
We're not there yet, but
Oh.
she is going to die.
Well,
Like, that's the only reason she's there is like an emotional beat to like try and make you feel attached to the movie.
I'm invested now.
Like,
Is there any justification for the absence of Elba or Hunnam,
I believe.
or indeed Australian guy with the dog gammy leg?
Oh no, I believe Hunnam's the only one that's mentioned.
I saw a picture of Idris Elba in the trailer.
Yeah, but that's a flashback.
No. It was like it was
Oh.
on a newspaper cutting.
Oh no, I mean there is like a famous dead military people wall that he's on.
What?
That fun fact,
They're-
Marco gets put onto.
they're-
She's a dead.
They're a real.
She's a dead military person.
They're a real thing.
So why am I not running a light? No, yeah, she dies.
Right.
She is literally just there to be the only emotional beat of the movie. I mean, there's nothing else. Like, she's literally the only emotional beat. Nothing else registers in the slightest. The whole basis is that, hey, we don't have enough Jaeger pilots anymore, even though they've had 10 years to find Jaeger pilots. They've pretty much scrapped the whole, like, oh, you need to be, like, emotionally compatible to, like, what is it, drift, I believe is
Drifting is
to like drift together. That doesn't matter anymore. They're pretty much just like, fuck that. What we're going to do is brute force everything. So when the two of them, Boyega and the little girl, go to the military base from the first one, they're pretty much like, oi, hey, we don't use real pilots anymore. We're just going to use all you teenagers to be pilots, and we're going to train you to like brute force your memory, hack each other. There's none of this like, ooh, we need to like get you to fight. Like in the first one, like Charlie had to fight like 15 people to try and see who was like compatible with. Nope, fuck that. We don't need no emotional beats. We just need two people to be brute force together and like, yo, you just be better at it, or you aren't pilots anymore. So you pretty much get like what do you call that? was it something 13? It had the Harrison Ford in it, and it was like the space thing, and all the teenager kids were like,
Oh, Ender's Game.
Ender's Game, yeah, something 13. Ender's
Something 13.
Ender's Game, something 13. It's pretty much like that. It's like, oh, we've just got a load of kids, but you need to be the new
I
pilots.
can't even think what you were even thinking.
No, I have no idea, but 13 was in my head, and it made me think
Ender's Game.
Ender's Game.
Right.
So it's the same kind of deal. It's like, yo, we've got all these teenagers, they need to be the future. Fuck everyone else. Even though we've had literally 10 years to find a load of new pilots and train them, they still haven't trained these young pilots yet. So I don't know when they got them. They got them in like the week before. Like, oh well, just in case, you just need to be in here. So yeah, you get like he comes in and like Clint Eastwood's son's there. What do you call him? Scott. Is it Scott Eastwood?
Yeah, Scott Eastwood.
He's there. There's the girl that was in that TV show, the Oz TV show. She's there, but for some reason.
When you say Oz, do you mean Wizard of or The Land Down Under?
No, Wizard of. But it was reasonably recent, in like the last year and a half. It had Kingpin from Daredevil in it. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, you know what I mean. I'm
yes.
sure I assume people know what I mean. She's there, but
Google it.
But she's there for no reason. She's another one that's literally there for no reason. So like Scott Eastwood has a whole big thing of being like, oh, we used to be fucking partners back in the day, but you ran off, Boyega, and I'm really upset with you. She is literally there. She's not a pilot. Like everything later on, they're like, oh, we need pilots. She's nowhere to be seen. She is literally there just to come up and be like, hey, Scott, kiss.
She doesn't say that, right?
No, she may as well. Like that's literally her whole thing. She's just like, hey, Scott, kiss on the cheek. So then Boyega can be like, ooh, I like her. And then later on, she gives them both a kiss on the cheek, and then Boyega can be like, well, that's confusing. And that's a quote. That's a literal quote from the movie. He's like, oh, well, that's confusing. Like, she's no reason. Like, later on, and then we'll get to that bit in a minute, apparently they've no Jaeger pilots left, so they have to use the kids. Spoilers. So they have to use all the teenagers and stuff. She's there, but apparently that's not what her job is. Her job is literally to keep morale up, apparently. Like, morale up. That's her job. She has no other job on that fucking plant. Base.
There's a lot I'm alarmed by in
Okay.
a vague way.
Right.
I'm alarmed by the suggestion of brute force intrusion into someone else's psyche, which strikes me as a little bit not
That's
cool.
what they do. They just smash them together and hope and make sure it works.
Yes, that's not.
There's no like emotional connection
That's
anymore. It's
unsettling.
literally just like we
Also,
force these people
Are
together.
you being uncharitable to this poor girl's character?
No. She is like
Is she billed as being there for morale purposes?
no, like her whole role, like she only maybe has like 10 lines tops. So like she comes out at the very beginning when he reaches the base and stuff, so big can be like, oh, girl, love interest, sup. Then later on she comes out and she's just like there so he can be like, oh, well, that's confusing. Like she doesn't do anything. Like she has no role in the rest of the movie.
It's hitting a lot of the same beats as the original did, I would say. But
It does.
That doesn't salvage it anyway.
It does. I mean, it hits a few beats, but it does not do it in any way. Like, I mean, yes, you go into the first one, you're like, I'm only coming here to see like giant robots punch giant monsters, which in this one, yeah, you get, but it doesn't feel like there's as much, not necessarily heart, but it doesn't feel like there's as much put into it. Like all the Jaegers in this one are all very standard, similar.
I would say that as well.
Based on the trailer.
From the trailer, it was a bit like original Mortal Kombat, where it was like one skin in about 4 different colours.
Yeah, like the ninja skin.
Whereas
Yeah.
the original, like the Russian one, was kind of big and matte.
I had the big Chernobyl.
Yeah, and it was
Chernobyl Russian power plant.
Yeah, and it was like it was,
yeah, like the Asian one that had like the 3 people in it.
Yeah,
So they had, like,
yeah.
more, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was playing on stereotypes, but the Russian one was
Yeah.
kind of like industrial, and the Chinese one, because it was run by the
Yeah.
People's Republic of China, was essentially a robot martial artist, and the
Yeah.
American one was slick, and then the unfortunately named Gypsy Danger was the kind of cheap analog nuclear
Yeah.
one, which
Yeah.
is plucky.
Yeah, no, I mean it hits the kind of same beats like Gypsy Avenger, as the new one's
No,
called.
they didn't drop Gypsy. Gypsy isn't acceptable.
It's-
Gypsy shouldn't be being used.
Gypsy Avenger.
The Gypsy should not be being used in any fucking context, let alone Gypsy Avenger.
Gypsy
Sounds like a
Avenger.
horrible superhero.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fucking hell.
You have Gypsy Avenger, then you have like 3 other generic kind of slim robots.
Sorry, I can't believe Gypsy Avenger.
Yeah, no, Gypsy made it past. Yeah. So like,
Danger was the problem.
Danger was the
Avengers.
word they weren't happy with.
Avengers fight.
They focus tested it and they were like, we need to get rid of Danger. It sounds too like red alert. We need to throw something else out there. How about Avenger?
No, well, yeah, everyone likes those movies.
So like you get all this nonsense and you get a little bit of carry on between Boyega and Eastwood. You're like, oh yeah, we were together back in the day, but you fucking betrayed me, yada yada. Nobody cares. Boyega's like eating ice cream and drinking beer. Nobody gives a shit. So like,
What a life.
yeah, like I mean, it's the most relaxed military base ever, apparently. So what you'll probably not have got from that trailer, but I got from the trailer I watched, which I don't think was that one, is fun fact: Charlie Day is the bad guy.
No!
So
They were both wearing black. So hang on.
So
No,
right,
no, give me a minute. Right, so
right.
I want to try and
Try and guess.
try and get there in my head.
Yeah.
From the first one. So he was obviously, they were both, in fact, in the first one, linked.
The two of them linked to the kaiju.
Right.
The kaiju brain in the first
Right.
one.
So in the intervening 10 years, they've slowly started to turn. This is a little bit Independence Day, is all I'm going to say. It's a little bit Independence Day. So they've slowly started to turn in the intervening 10 years. And what? They've then reopened the portal.
Right.
Right. So
Here.
you know what? The black in the trailer, and also, to be honest, I was going to say to you in the trailer, why was Charlie Day looking so suave and confident? And that's the kind of standard. It was like when, I've never seen a Spider-Man movie, but from the trailers, Tobey Maguire suddenly looked confident when he was bad.
When he was winning Venom,
he was like strutting his stuff.
Yeah.
He looked all confident because when you're bad, you're confident.
Yeah.
To try and reward nerds watching, to make them believe that not being confident is totally fine. That makes them good.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to unconfident nerds. I mean, well,
So, basically, the movie pushes you to think that this Chinese company is the bad guy, and there's this woman that runs a Chinese company that Charlie Day works for, and the movie for like the first 2/3 pushes you to think that she's the bad guy.
cool.
Now, from the trailers, I was going in thinking Charlie Day's the bad guy. Charlie Day's obviously reached some point because the trailer shows like kaiju, Jaeger hybrids.
Well, I mean, I did briefly see a fight.
There was glimpses of like that.
I saw, and then the rebuilding. I did,
Yeah, so I put that from the trailer that it was going to be like Charlie Day being like, oh, it's not good enough that we've beat them back this time. They might come back. So he was like forcing something together to like
and it's
try and
then
think.
gone rogue.
Yeah, that's what I was going into the film with. But what it does is make you think that the Chinese woman is the bad guy that runs this company because she's trying to push out these like autonomous Jaeger drones.
That's very topical.
Well, it all hits the bells that are appropriate to what we're talking about. So like it builds you up that she's the bad guy. You reach a thing that like there's supposed to be like a final meeting to decide whether these drones are going to get used or not. But Mako.
I believe Mako
I'm gonna do this every
Mori.
time.
Mako Mori.
Mako Mori
is
sounds right.
the name of the
So
character.
Mako is the final decision on the matter. Like she's got the deciding vote. So of course, and this is where alarm bells started ringing for me. Of course, she's like, "Hey, John Boyega, I need you to bring Gypsy Danger there, just as a more of a show thing. Like, there's not going to be any danger. Wink. There's not going to be any danger. You just need to be there." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know how to do them anymore." And she's like, "It's fine. You just need to stand there and be at attention. nothing's gonna happen because it's a super top meeting. Hey, Andrew, do you know what's gonna happen at this top meeting?
I mean, is it attacked by a kaiju?
It's fucking attacked! So, it's like, oh, he drops in, he's like, oh god. And of course, Mako is the only one that has to fly in. She's the last person to get there. So she's flying in her helicopter, and they're like, oh, beep, 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 beep. Something's coming. Hey, it's another Jaeger. Oh, I wonder who sent this Jaeger. Hey, I wonder if it's the company that's trying to make autonomous Jaegers to like protect everyone. So they get like a full fight in the city. Her helicopter gets blown up as she's trying to like send information, because apparently, even though they have like a whole military revolved around like science and research and stuff, she's the only one that's like, hey, these research like fucking electronic waves coming out of this Jaeger seem familiar. So she tries to send it, and she's like, oh no. And like they can't save her, and she dies because they need an emotional beat to like drive him to actually be a proper pilot again. And the one gets away.
It seems a lot like the emotional beat would have been more effective on Charlie Hunnam.
No, what? Are you shitting me? Yeah, it would. It 100% would. It's literally like, who can we still get that's still alive in the canon that we could possibly have as some sort of like emotional distress?
I mean, I love John Boyega. I love John Boyega.
We all love John Boyega. John Boyega's great. So she dies.
I like the lassie that plays Mako
Mori. Yeah.
Very unlikely to be Maori. But, yeah.
So they pretty much forget about her death like 2 minutes later. They're like, oh, I'm so emotional, I put this picture up, and then they don't care anymore. So the whole basis of like the autonomous robots is that they're trying to put like quantum computers in, but they still have to be controlled by like people, like separately on like a separate base. So what happens is everyone's chilling out in the base, and they're like, hey, what's going on over there? And it's the autonomous drones, whatever you want to call them, drones, are getting flown in, and they go apeshit, and like kaiju bits come out of the quantum computer, and they become basically like Halo, like the video game Halo villains.
Again.
No, I know it's not, but people understand.
You're the edge of my ignorance. All I know about Halo is that Casper Van Dien's is it was ripped off from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably right.
I believe
he's
Casper
probably
Van
right.
Dien.
So they become like half kaiju, half robot things, because apparently nobody at this like robotics company thought like, hey, I wonder if I should just check if this guy's throwing kaiju bits into the brains of all our computers. Fun fact, he was. So they go apeshit and like wreck the whole base. And they're like, oh no, we have no Jaegers left. And all the pilots are dead. Except for us two main characters. So, of course, they have to use all the kids as the Jaeger pilots. And then you get the whole, like, apparently, right, Charlie Day's whole thing is that it's apparently when he left the military, he managed to take out a giant fucking tank with a kaiju brain in it.
Cool.
Like, that's twice the height of him, with a kaiju brain in it, that apparently nobody missed, and has been connecting to it like drugs for 10 years. So, like, his whole thing is that they're controlling him, like, the aliens are controlling him through the brain.
Is Ron Perlman going to save the day?
No! Ron Perlman isn't in it, and it's a fucking disgrace.
What the fuck?
It's a genuine fucking disgrace. Like, you get shots of, like, Charlie Day, like, with the brain thing on, like, going fucking apeshit, and he gets, like, the whole, like, apocalypse voice. Like, like, he gets all this shit going on when he's trying to, like, fucking be intimidating, and it's, like, the precursor talking through him and stuff. And, like, it just doesn't work. Like, if they tried to play it like, they've obviously tried to, like, fully ham it up because it's Pacific Rim. But if they tried to play him, like, a little bit more serious, it might have actually worked in a movie that the rest of it's kind of fucking nonsense. But they haven't. They've just kind of let it go. So you kind of get, like, Charlie Day doing this, like, I'm fucking possessed voice. And it just doesn't work.
Is he called Charlie Day? Or is that
No, I don't think he's called Charlie Day.
Character
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure his character isn't.
I mean, I've just been waiting for Ron Perlman's name to come up, and now that it's not, I'm devastated. I'm not gonna lie, I'm devastated.
No, like, he doesn't come back. So, like, the aliens come, they destroy the base. He's pretty much sent, like, a load of his drones to, like, open portals to let, like, proper kaiju through. And then that's where it starts getting a little bit fucking bullshit, because they're like, hey, do you remember in the first movie when, like, all the aliens were, like, trashing through cities and shit? But it doesn't matter, because all the aliens were trying to get to Mount Fuji. Yep. No, think about it, because they're all they all come up in the water and they all trash through cities, but apparently they're all trying to get to Mount fucking Fuji.
I call foul on that, because the one that attacked the United States takes down the Golden Gate Bridge and is killed about 3 miles short of Las Vegas. So unless...
Oh, he's going the long way.
Yeah,
he's going the long way.
Unless his sense of direction's fucked.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
He's like lying in the desert.
Yep.
That's very much west-east.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
He's going to trudge his arse across the US, the Atlantic, Europe, Asia.
Yep.
Dip back in the water again.
And then Mount Fuji.
Pop up on Japan. I mean, Mount Fuji, I believe, it's next to Tokyo, so it's even the western side of... No, he's going the wrong direction. I mean, maybe they were going to Mount Fuji and...
Here's why they want to go to Mount Fuji.
Sure.
So, kind of when they first get on the base, you meet the other doctor guy? Not Charlie Day, the other one that he, like, sort of...
Bulka.
And he was like, oh, I'm trying to, like, make some sort of, like, super fuel thing so we can, like, fire Jaegers with rockets and shit. And he's like, oh, but what it needs is kaiju blood and rare earth minerals. Hey, Andrew. So, where do you think there is a high concentration of rare earth minerals?
Is it in Mount Fuji?
It's in Mount Fuji, apparently!
Is Mount Fuji not a volcano?
Yep, that's why all the rare earth minerals are there. So,
I don't think
they have decided that the precursors, which is what they're calling the aliens, their plan is that they've been sending all these kaiju here to walk to Mount Fuji. Instead of sending them beside Mount Fuji, they've sent them, like, all over the world to walk to Mount Fuji to throw themselves in the volcano so that the blood of the kaiju reacts with the rare earth minerals in the lava, explodes, covers the earth in dust, kills everything so that they don't have to terraform it themselves.
It's like Lord of the Rings. Well, if there's a volcano.
Okay, yes, it's like Lord of the Rings because there is a fucking volcano. It's nonsense. They literally just decide, like, yo, forget about everything you saw in the first movie. What we're going to do is we're going to make up a fucking nonsense reason for all these goddamn monsters to walk across the fucking earth instead of just attacking random cities to, like, throw themselves in a volcano.
I mean, I suppose charitably you could say that because he's now the bad guy, he was lying in the first film, but Charlie Day...
But he wasn't entirely taken over.
Charlie Day quite explicitly outlines what's going on in the first movie.
So, I think it's like there's like 3 kaiju in this movie.
Okay.
Total? Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure 3. And the 3 of them are all walking to Tokyo, to Mount Fuji. So you've got, like, they're like, hey, we need to get all these Jaegers repaired so that we can go fight, because they all got wrecked by the hybrids a minute ago. But we've no pilots. Who are going to use as pilots? Hey, let's use all these, like, tiny little children to be the pilots of these Jaegers so we can go fight the kaiju. Because apparently the only 2 surviving actual pilots were Eastwood and Boyega. And that's when you get the point where the woman from Oz comes out.
Are they in the same...
They're the same, yeah. They're pilots together because the brains because they're the only ones with the brain counts. Apparently, you're not going to put them with like a kid, because that would make sense when you have like a serious, like a captain and then like a recruit in there. No, that's fucking nonsense. You can't be doing that.
Eggs baskets.
So they all throw themselves to Tokyo. Hey, it turns out, how do we get to Tokyo quickly with these? Because we fly them with helicopters normally. How do we get to Tokyo quick enough?
Rocket fuel.
Rocket fuel! Coincidentally, that the guy's been working on for 10 years, and funny enough, only makes it work like 30 minutes before he needs it to work. So they literally just attach rocket boosters to these fucking Jaegers and throw them over to fucking Tokyo. And it's like, alright, okay, so there's 4 U's over there. Yeah, whatever, nobody cares. So they all go over, and they have their big fight and shit, and they're like, oh, this is pretty easy. What could possibly happen? And then it zooms in to Charlie Kelly on top of a building in Tokyo, even though the main bad guy was in fucking China with their big Chinese factory with all the fucking robots that he managed to do all this shit without anybody noticing. Some factory in Japan, because this Chinese company has a factory in Japan, releases like 1 billion little like dog kaiju monsters. And to be fair, they look like they were taken straight out, of the Great Wall movie with fucking Damon.
Didn't see it.
Oh, they look like they're taken directly out of it, and they run along and eat the shit out of the kaiju, and then like glue the kaiju together, so the 3 kaiju become like a Megazord kaiju, which I believe has the name Mega Kaiju. And this is the big bad, because he was apparently able to make like 1 million little tiny dog kaiju without anybody noticing. So they make like a giant mega kaiju, but obviously kicks the shit out of them all because it's mega. And it's like fucking dandering up to fucking Fuji, like, oh, I'm just gonna throw myself in this fucking volcano and see what happens. And then their idea is like, hold on, what we need to do is attach rockets to Gypsy and fire it into space, and then get it to come down with a big fucking horrible punch and wreck the kaiju that we haven't been able to kill.
Is that not the plot of Kung Fu Hustle?
Yes, it is, Andrew! It is exactly the plot of Kung Fu Hustle. With the fucking palm of Buddha.
Yeah. I've also remember the way in the first one, the kaiju attacks Sydney a lot. That's very much the wrong way.
I feel like all these like precursors that can make portals to the art world, but can't make them anywhere near Fuji.
Yeah.
Because there was only one portal in the first one.
Yeah.
And they all went different directions when they came out of the portal.
Like when the Jaeger program was cancelled, luckily, arsehole Australian guy and his dad were just cutting about, and they could get in their Jaeger and go sort shit out. And he was like, this is why we shouldn't cancel the Jaeger program.
They tried to say in this that there was a load of like defense Jaegers and stuff that got occupied with like the hybrids. But the hybrids all got wrecked because like Chinese woman was like boop 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 boop, I fixed it already, it doesn't matter. So they all shut down and closed the portals, but only those 3 kaiju come out. But they're still like, oh no, all the defense Jaegers are fucking busy. We've only got these like broken Jaegers that we have at our base. So like Gypsy's like landing ground is like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. Hey, do you know what shows up that you might not remember because I've been talking about it for an hour? Tiny little scrapper robot that's being controlled by the Asian woman that you thought was a bad guy till recently because she's there to protect herself. So she's like, oh, I'm remotely controlling like I wanted all my robots to do, but now I'm controlling a little scrapper robot. So a little scrapper robot shows up, and like Eastwood's got like fucking shot or something at this point, so he's like, oh, I need to bow out, I don't know, you're gonna have to try and do this on your own. And Boyega's like, oh, I could probably do it on my own. I walked like 2 steps when I was a fucking cadet. That's who I am. Hey, no! What we're going to do is throw in the tiny little girl that's the other main character of the movie. She's going to come in and fucking sit in there and do the robot with you. So they get the scrapper robot to like weld a rocket to Gypsy's hand, so the hand like carries them into space, so that they can come down at the velocity to kill the kaiju. And like, even though like the front of fucking Gypsy's like smashed off, they still go kind of up to space, and the little tiny like scrapper robot's like, hey, just crawl over and come in my robot because the eject pods don't work coincidentally. Just hey, come on over and like get into my robot. So they get in the little tiny scrapper robot and like roll down the mountain to safety while Gypsy like crashes in and fucking like wrecks everything. Yeah, that's it. No, they win. Fun fact.
So wait,
It's rubbish.
do missiles not exist in this world?
Oh, well, I mean, they have like rockets and stuff, but apparently these like little rockets they fire out of their shoulders and stuff don't do anything to kaiju.
But
There is one good fight in this movie. Gypsy Avenger fights the like Chinese controlled like autonomous robot like twice. Once at like when they're like guarding the convention, and then once, and I don't remember the basis on it, but once in like Antarctica or some shit. And like the fight in Antarctica is actually pretty good. It doesn't capture like any of like the cool kind of robot versus kaiju fight in the first one, and they don't seem to give a shit about like looking after humanity anymore. Like the kaiju hit like kind of Asia or / Tokyo, I assume, and they're like dandering through, and you get people like running into like the shelters and stuff from the first one, and that's pretty cool. And they're like running away, but then like next scene, kaiju land or Jaeger land. And like they're using like their gravity beam to like pull skyscrapers down into the kaiju.
I was gonna say like the trailer, they burst through a.
They're like pulling, and they're like, how many buildings is this going to take? And it's like, people were running like 20. They only got like 20 minutes warning. All those people are dead.
Like the first movie, his brother gets killed saving a fishing trawler. It's like it's 7 guys on a fishing boat. Like,
the thing is, you don't even get like, you get the little girl being like, oh my god, it's Gypsy Avenger. Oh my god, it's fucking Honeybeam. Like, she's like giving you the names because they're all the same fucking robots. But like the giant Jaeger that like arrests her at the beginning is never seen again. Like they could very easily have brought it back or like had it as like the Jaeger that Eastwood drives.
sure.
So that they could have brought it back later and like kind of connected that all together. But everything seems like so like split up into sections. Like there's no, I mean, I don't want to say there's no heart there anymore, but like the first movie,
There's no love there.
the first movie was literally like you're only going to see it for giant robots fighting giant monsters.
Fair.
But it delivered. Like the fights were good. It didn't feel like a Transformers fight. It felt like genuinely good monster fights. Whereas the second one feels like Transformer fights. Like all the robots are fighting the same. The 3 kaiju, you don't really get enough separately before they're like squished into one full one. It just doesn't work, and like everything's so coincidental. Like your man's apparently had 10 years of fucking peace, but works out his like fuel thing, even though he was asking Charlie for help on it, works it out on the day that they happen to need it, and it's fine. Like the cadets, like that they've apparently had 10 years to train, just work suddenly. They find this little girl that's like an engineer magically, and like even her, like she gets all the same story beats as Mako did in the first one. Like you get her flashbacks when he's like connecting to her. That's like the only kind of like mind meld nonsense you get in this, but like. She gets those little bits, and it's like her on like a pier, like a carnival pier, and like a kaiju appears and like smashes in between her and her parents, and they're like, oh, reach for me, and she's like, I'm scared, and then the kaiju flattens them, and it's very much like what Mako had in the first one, so like even at that, it doesn't feel like it's actually anything useful. It's just, oh god, it's I mean, watching it, like if you completely turn off, you could enjoy it a little. Like there's parts of it that are fun. Like I mean, it uses parts of the original soundtrack briefly. Like the main theme, like I think it used it once, which isn't good enough because it's such an iconic theme for it. But like the rest of the soundtrack, like I couldn't tell you anything about it. Like it just didn't register at all. The only point that I was kind of like, oh, soundtrack, yeah, that's pretty good, was the point that they used like the theme from the first one. Like that's fucking it. It's very disappointing. I can see why somebody could go in and still enjoy it because at its base it still is like robots versus monsters. And like that fight in Antarctica was really good, but fuck the rest of it. Jesus Christ, no, God no. God no, Andrew. God no. Yeah. I wouldn't watch it. Don't waste your time. Just watch the first one again. If you think like, hey, I'm gonna watch the sequel and see what that's about, don't. Just watch the first one again.
The first one was good.
Just watch the first one. The first one was great.
First one was good.
First one was great. I thoroughly enjoyed the first one. Like it was pal nonsense. Like it wasn't the fucking deepest story in the world.
Which his brother played by the third Hemsworth. You know, the loser Hemsworth, the Westworld Hemsworth.
I'm not sure.
Well, either way,
That could be a great shout or a terrible loss. Who knows?
good movie.
No, yeah,
Like,
100%.
hang on, what happens to Charlie Day?
I think he just gets arrested. He doesn't die.
Okay.
Like the precursor is just like, I'm fucking trying. It's like an Inspector Gadget bad guy or something. He's just like, I failed this time. Like nobody gives a fuck.
Fascinating reference.
Topical.
Is that
Topical.
what Inspector Gadget bad guys are like?
I mean, there was only the one Inspector Gadget bad guy, right? The Claw guy.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the Claw. Dr. Claw, or whatever his name was. It was Dr. Claw. Claw. Something Claw, and he had the cat. You never saw his face. It was only the screen.
Maybe that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it is true.
That was an okay show.
Yeah. So, summary. I mean, not all of these will be negative. This was a negative one.
All of these will be negative.
No, they'll not all be negative. I like movies. Just not the movies that
What was the last movie you liked?
The last movie that I watched that I liked was probably Infinity War.
Okay.
I don't know how many movies I've watched since then. No, although
And that was like,
I've watched.
it's like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've watched Pacific Rim 2 since then, so that says a lot. But yeah, no, Infinity War was pretty good. No, I don't think I've watched any other movies since then. Yeah.
I mean, I'm all out of questions, I think.
I mean, the summary is it's a pile of nonsense. If it steals a lot of nonsense from like Kong Skull, Power Rangers, Transformer, like Great Wall. It takes a lot of stuff from that, throws it all together, and expects. And I'm a little bit disappointed because I kind of wanted it to be good because Boyega was producing.
He was very invested, I know that much.
I think he was producing, but he could have very well been any character. Like he didn't need to be a Pentecost. Mako didn't need to be in it at all. Like, I mean, yes, I get they put her in it to like connect them, but it wasn't necessary. Eastwood could have very well been replaced by Charlie Hunnam. You would be surprised if his part wasn't what that part was supposed to be, but cut down a little. Because then it was Eastwood, and nobody gives a shit about Eastwood. The whole kid thing just made no sense, other than, hey, we saw Transformers do it, so let's just put loads of teens in there. Again, I mean, maybe it was just me, but the whole Charlie Day like twist of being the bad guy was extremely obvious for me for at least the trailer I watched. I know I didn't necessarily show you the same trailer. It just seemed like a very. They took what was made to be good from the first one and just simplified it loads, and were like, "Hey, we need to aim this more at like dumb teens." and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It was very disappointing. Some fights were cool. Like if you're super bored or super drunk, watch it. But some fights were cool. But it's not. I wouldn't go in necessarily invested.